All right, Mayor Lewis here. Council President Perry here. Councilor Hensley is absent for tonight. Councilor Oliveris present. Councilor Parsons present. Beautiful, Mr. Mayor.
I'll make the motion to pay the bills for this month. I second the motion to pay the bills for this month. All in favor? Aye. Duly opposed? Thanks, Howie. And I also make a motion to accept the minutes from last month's meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Duly opposed? Aye. Public comment. I have. Will be recorded.
Already? Okay, things to go over. Let's see. So the Small Municipalities Advocacy Coalition, that's our little Avengers League of smaller cities in the area, Brownsville, all them, we're going to call it SMAC because we're hoping to smack people in some sense, you know, something like that. Thought it would be fun. So all the cities basically agreed to kind of how the structure would work, and there's an item later to formalize that contract. The first thing they want to do is get all the city councilors in the area to some training sessions with SMAC's lobbyists. There are a few different days. There are 4 different days they put together for people to go in different cities. August 24th in Brownsville, August 31st in Halsey, September 4th and 14th in Halsey, or September 21st in Harrisburg. Yep.
What's the intention of this training? What's the agenda topic?
The intention is to train counselors in the legislative process and show them what it's like to go to Salem and engage with legislators. I do a lot of this kind of stuff already for Sodaville, and I brought Joe to the Capitol and things like that. And I had people come here. So a lot of you are already familiar with that. Most of the counselors in the area have not done that before. I'm kind of unique because that's just the world that I lived in. And this will be for people who want to get more familiar or comfortable with the legislative process and get prepared to go to Salem again sometime during the legislative session and meet with legislators and talk about stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to Salem is not my thing.
That's okay.
So
It's not mandatory for you to go. It's just
I just don't want to take
absolutely, yeah.
I wouldn't want to take somebody's spot. It really is a gun hole.
Oh yeah, no, it's every single city councilor is allowed to attend.
Did you? Wait a minute, you don't look crazy, you know?
No, it's open to every single city councilor, so there's not going to be a cap on attendance. They just want to know beforehand who's going to be there.
But it's not just how to go out and glad hand. It's also how do things work.
Yeah.
That part I might like, but I don't know.
That's okay. No worries. Let's see. So there's a bit of a revised schedule for the season. I had originally planned to go to CIS this week, and I realized, oh yeah, it's going to go to my honeymoon, and we're going to have the city council a week early. So yeah, ended up not doing that. Thankfully, it was going to be free for me to attend, so we didn't lose any money. We have to recoup a refund later. I hadn't booked a hotel yet, so that makes it simpler. I'm still going to Oregon Association of Municipal Reporters in September, and then League of Oregon Cities meeting there are going to Eugene for the League of Oregon Cities annual conference. Should be fun. So Keller and Associates got the contract, and they said they're at work on their stuff. So hopefully get an update from them soon on how they're going. We had the lovely Sodaville cutout fire on August 1st. That was not very fun to see and have to deal with all that. I really appreciate everybody who helped. The Lebanon Fire District, Sweet Home, Brownsville, Tangent, and ODF all sent fire people. And then the Linden County Sheriff Office responded locally. The one difficulty we found is that people were calling us and coming physically to the center of town to like, what's going on? Do we need to evacuate?
Yeah, everybody show up,
Yeah.
audience out here. I dropped see how far it was away, see if they could start watering things down.
Yep. Yeah, so it just so happened the day after I actually had to go to a community wildfire protection plan meeting where we were going to talk about, okay, what are the problems you all cities are facing? And I said, well, we didn't get any communications from any emergency management agencies about a fire that could literally have burnt down the town. If that had gotten a few feet yesterday, I probably wouldn't be here because there'd be no more city of Sodaville for me to be the city reporter of.
I got my phone to text about it.
Well, yeah, I didn't get it either. Yeah, so I shared that with him. The emergency manager for Lynn County was there, and I said, hey, this is a problem. We think it's a deficiency, and I made sure to go, not knocking on you. I appreciate all the hard work you did yesterday, but like, this is a problem, and since we've just suddenly identified it, we can just fix it right now. And all the other cities were like, actually, yeah, we don't get any communications either. So he said, okay, I'll work on that. And actually, like the next day, he had added like every single city.
So that grounds on me without not getting ready to what's going on.
Yeah, everybody like that next day, because of that comment, they actually added every city to the list. And so now we're all getting updates on everything. So yeah, really happy with that. Really thankful to the sheriff for maintaining a workplace culture that accepts constructive criticisms and moves forward without turning it into a fight. You know, it's great. Let's see. Anything else on here? I think those were the big ones. Yeah, I got that too. Pulse point, watch duty, I got that one. Yep, but now we get to specific emails. There are some things that we get that other people don't get. Some privileged emergency communications. It's just good for us to be aware of. Yeah, so I think that was the wake-up call, and we were actually able to make some very concrete improvements to our emergency preparedness very quickly. So very happy with that one.
I started working on my fire trucks in the
Yeah.
When it comes time for comments, I have comments.
Yeah. Well, do you want to discuss it right now since it's kind of in the city recorded?
Sure. She was asked a question by one of our citizens about what do I do, what I do. And I've had quite a bit of training about security, both military and outside and hospital and command centers and all that kind of stuff. And I actually brought on Alex a binder. I did some very extensive training about it. And I would be happy to, I say, but I think we need to offer something up here, even just as simple as a 1 hour training for free for our citizens, whoever wants to come, to talk about what do you do, because it's too late after the fact. You know, have a binder that has copies of everything you need. This is what the evacuation will be. You know, don't forget to take care of your pets. Just some simple things that you don't have the time when you're having to go eat. And in my lifetime, I've had floods, I've had earthquakes, I've had fires that I've had to evacuate from. So I'm pretty savvy if it never happens. But I would be really supportive of that. And I think what might be nice is offering a class, but also having some takeaways for people. So FEMA has a lot of brochures and the Red Cross stuff, just so our people are prepared.
Don't bring it back to the neighborhood because we got a lot of elderly people that live in this community. And, you know, on a crisis like that, it's always about what am I going to do? What are we going to do with the guy that lives next door?
Yeah, who might be, you know, carebound.
Right.
In my wildest dreams, if I could have a pipe dream, it would be nice to have the funds or a grant for when you're going to evacuate a 5-gallon bucket filled with your medications, with your pet food, the change of clothes, with that's just incredible to have. And if we could, you know, maybe give away 5-gallon buckets with lids to our people. But I would feel called for that. I think it would be a really good idea.
I think that's a great program.
I don't know, you know, if we wanted to get fancy, perhaps the county, because I wish I had the guy that I knew at the hospital who's giving back if he's still around, but they might have emergency preparedness people who come out and do that. But homegrown, I think I have enough information and data. And I think we could easily get brochures and flyers for people to take with her and have that. I think that, you know, we're a small town there. We need to take care of each other, and I think they could do that.
The school was trying to get it done to do an emergency. Building at the school. They've applied for the grant. What was that consist of?
Like an evacuation center.
It's a place for everybody to go, where they've got supplies, food. Medical supplies, things like that. They're actually trying to get it for all the schools. That's a place to go for people and push together, right?
And he's got new ones, everybody. Yeah, there's some of this, hey, this guy's not here, Cal.
Right.
You know somebody's got to show.
We need to have a phone system and make sure you check your neighbor. Anyway, I would be willing to, you know, draft a training plan, make sure everybody's okay with it, and present it to whoever wants to come up to it. I don't want to make a bunch of photocopies and stuff, but maybe the city could sponsor that, to get some of the kids and stuff, if y'all.
What do you think about contacting Mary Northern with the student and see if the city and really could work together? And that's who I was watching too.
Yeah, it's just an idea. If she's kind of working that way, and I think you got a great idea to work that way, maybe if the two of you work together, maybe you can try and put something together for the community. So,
My only thought on that is the school is not just going to go there.
right.
So, you know, if we bump it up, are we stepping on Lebanon's code, Lynn County's code, or B, would we make it so big we couldn't handle it here? You know, I mean,
Well, the biggest thing is the school would be the gathering spot for the community. Because you're right. I mean, there's kids from like home that come all the way. And go to school here, but basically, you know, instead of calling it school, we're at 16, we're at the charter school, which I think is still a private school, right? It's a charter school, basically.
But by the government.
It's just an
I'm not
idea.
against that idea. I just think.
Maybe they actually need a donation, happy paper, think, you know, sort of stuff like that. I got 3 or 4 weeks down there, a little more that I really did donate.
And it's come up with something. Wonder if even mother Red Cross and in the kind of things that
They
can
absolutely do. I gave them my binder from the extension training I took, and I had a couple of brochures in there, and I went on to the site, and they had a bunch of things for free. So, and I'm sure the request is better coming from the city, it's a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing, you know, the reason concern, we got lucky with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think could have got out of hand. Really?
After that, Lynn kind of, like I said, this way before it started going up to here.
Yeah, we could have got out of hand, really.
That was great. This time.
No.
In California, they had some really bad burns, and I did a lot of volunteer work. And the people and with our animals and the people that didn't have anything because they didn't think to take their medications and need a pair of underwear, something to brush your teeth through. And it's not just comfort when you're being evacuated, it's also the care and safety of things.
we could put in and the supplies in the hotels. Yeah. Think of that we can store stuff in there.
Yeah, he was doing that more, but actually.
Yeah, and
She said, I took care of it.
Yeah, that's another angle we could take towards finding some funds to rehab it.
Yeah.
Well, if we were gonna do that, we'll buy a container.
My son's looking for a guy who would call, maybe, that, in the store, stuff that on his property. Says, they don't have to wait about make it in the, if you back up the trucks, and you order them on the trailer, all the containers off, everything, you know. The containers and all, so, unless you got somebody spiking that thing to the ground, help the tenant disappear in 20 minutes.
Here you go, let's hollow out the building and then put a container in it.
Anyway, if y'all are good with that, I'll go ahead and start working. I don't know Mary, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
She's great.
But again, I'm just concerned, I don't want to move this up to the whole world. I'm just more concerned about.
Well, it might be worth it just to give her a call and see how she's doing on, comparing it to the emergency. Through the school, and down, you can stay thinking about something. That way, you're not overlapping.
Right.
So. It's my comment.
I'm trying to put it on the thing, so what they're kind of doing is if my safety wants it into operation. So,
Right.
yeah.
So, do we need feeling like y'all would want to see what I'm
Yeah.
gonna train before I train? Okay.
Yeah, I would like, I'd be interested. My wife, when she was like, working state, she was in a medical area there, but they would always do emergency things.
Mhm.
For like, all the college kids. Quite operation. Anyway.
Just grab my hard hat and my backpack, my special little bags and going out and watering this high and fire and. Okay.
I think that about would be handy to have a bit of people that you need to intake to the emergency. You need to check if anybody.
Well, in one little town, there was a phone tree. And so you would call Roger would call Joe, and we'd all just to make sure that everybody touched base, are you aware, do you know? I mean, I do that now with my neighbors, our friends. Are you okay with this? Do you need anything? But I think something official for anybody who'd be willing to participate. Yeah. As long as just know. Well, that big Cascadia folk, I think we're gonna be okay. But people around us.
Well, there's fires.
Yeah.
4 or 5 days ago, that. White Creek fire was 2 acres, now it's over 10.
Yeah, 220 acres. Then there was a real quick one on Brewster.
Yep.
100-acre plant, but it only, they cut it at 1 acre, thank goodness.
Well, I know the farmers right now are keeping water when the car. It's things are lighting.
And that's what happened on Sodaville.
Helicopters just stop us. I knew it was that one deal. They just started harvesting. It's like, it's not. I had some house that field and made a comment to my wife. It's kind of better on the side, pretty quick. They was looking for it. We're gonna get up in 100,000.
I see a lot of very much on the backside over there. I recently looked at flower, like, still they might harvest it, even down the dirt, you get grass.
It's the second.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's an emergency preparedness plans to come to. Awesome. Well, the next up is the public works update, and I was just kind of gonna go over some of this for JD. He was able to calculate how much gravel we were going to need for the 4 different roads he wanted to take care of during this fiscal year. And basically, there are a couple different options. One is where we go with 2 inches of gravel on top, or 3 inches of gravel on top. For 2 inches of gravel, there would be 24 different loads of rock you would need to get. For 3 inches, it was going to be 36 loads of rock to get. So that's the information included in that table there for you. Should be the big one on top. So that's kind of where we're going. I think he wanted some direction about whether we prefer to get 2 or 3 inches. We have a lot of money available to just do this. This is all ARPA funds. So I imagine 36,000 will be in the budget for getting that done. Sorry, 36,000, 36 loads of rock. But I think we just wanted everybody to see what it would take once you get all of this extra gravel down. So you have to put that out there. Yeah, we are going to have to put it out there for bids. Because it's by individual street, we just don't have to pay it. Probably, I think that rule is specific to ARPA itself. If we weren't using ARPA funds, we'd probably have a little bit more flexibility, but because they're ARPA funds, we do have to put it out to a bid.
What's the purpose?
American Rescue Plan Act, so, yeah, that's a share of money given to every city in America. For the village, basically.
Is there, I know nothing about rates.
Yeah.
Anything better or worse? To me, I would think free is better than two, but is there,
Well, I'll tell you what my experience is. Depending on who, Tom likes and he doesn't. Tell you what kind of work you can get. I know Tom really likes mine. He's brought this. Maybe like this the way it looks. You know, I was paying a lot more money and they shortened the line, so, and it's because. They didn't like it. So now that lock that line back, did he come in common or did he stop by Liberty? He stopped by Liberty, except for the last lane. And I'd actually rather have the Liberty ride. It's better.
It is. It's good. It's good to stop, turn it, pass down tighter.
And I got like, we got that rain. Line side is nice. You go up there right now, you can't tell it's pressure off. And that's the number one thing. This is the problem. Yeah, it's not gonna be happening. Yeah, right now. Yeah. Not much longer to tell if the water drain and come up to the water. I mean, we'll plan for it. Yeah, correctly.
Yeah, well, yeah, I like that. Road sprayers.
Yeah, we just kind of have a road.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. On road, because they have to put the gravel down before they come and grade it.
Yeah.
So the only thing that would worry me about doing three is that anything that.
They scrape off the sides, you're gonna make it too big. And you're gonna.
And it's just been messed up to where too, it might pack in better, and then in the next season, you come back and go back over the top. Would that be the correct way to look at it, kind of?
Yeah.
So,
You're too big to get too much of that, to get stuck in it. It's like,
Because I mean, I would say just to make the county happy, because they just want to see some material down. We throw down the two, they come and they blade it up. We go through our winter season, it gets kind of, does what it's gonna do, and then we reevaluate next budget. And maybe do the next thing again, or it might be good enough not have to do anything, maybe just clean up, not really bad. Road, he doesn't have money, does he? The one on the backside by
Tyler Vine.
the church. No, the other side, Middle Ridge Road.
Okay.
Wall Street. Nolan Street. Is it Nolan? Yeah.
the ones going up past the church.
Vines, Splash, Nolan.
Yeah.
It turns.
Yeah, the one that goes up, the one that goes up past the church, goes up, yeah.
He doesn't have that.
That's Middle Street.
So maybe you could put it in and
Yeah,
so
you've been talking to Ed also, yeah.
strategically, if you do have to go out for bid. When would be the best time to do this? Like November, October, November? Leading into the rainy season?
Probably something like that.
I mean, if right now we can't do it now, except late September, moving in October. Well, the biggest thing is if you put it to bid right now, that price you even get for that route is. Well, that's what I'm trying to say, the strategic, so like, we make the game plan, we throw a bid out mid-September, and then, or like at the end of October, I think. Okay, and then we. Yeah, we could go from there, right? I do a request for bids around the first of October. Can we have to make a vote on that?
Yeah, so the council will have to vote to issue an RFP.
And how do we schedule that for next meeting?
Yeah, we'll just schedule that for the next meeting.
September, which will give us right on.
Yeah, and then, usually we have the RFP, we hope to get somebody bid on it in time for this request for proposal. So usually when we put it out, we'd hope to have applicants give us a proposal in time for the next council meeting that comes up. So if we issued it, mid-September, we want a bid to be submitted mid-October. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at what ARPA says for making bids.
What do we have discretionary cash in this? Not use that.
Or do we want to use the?
Or is there any?
Yeah, so
Is there any petty cash?
So there is a good chunk of money in the roads budget for that. It's 45,000 of it is ARPA funds, and that's gonna be our biggest portion.
Yeah, well, we could make that happen without.
It's possible. I can do some research to see, if we have some discretion. There's difference on the bidding for a service versus bidding over a supply, and they might be willing to look over. There might not be as stringent requirements on RFPs if we're just buying rocks. You can buy rocks at any number of places. Like, for example, we needed a computer for the PLC, so I just bought a computer. I didn't have to put that up for a bid and go, okay, Amazon, you want to sell me a computer? I just bought the computer. So it's out of our budget. Yes. Yeah. So I will take a look, and I just need to review the requirements for it.
Cause you need ground aware. You can't only see the load changer.
Yeah, he'd like to have just the load.
Yeah, you just don't go and get it on there.
I think that. Oh, yeah.
Highway come in, it drops off. There's a hole right there. He'd like to get.
If he just wants to load a drop, I think we can go ahead and do that without a whole lot of fuss.
One other thing I got faced with the other day, and I didn't know, it. I just had to come and go tell her the whole thing. One of my customers came into his office yesterday and said, I have about 6 yards of asphalt in my dump truck right now. It's cooling on. You need it anywhere? Yes.
There's not one.
Down straight up on middle.
There's a bunch of asphalt.
He took it back to the Browns yard and dumped it over the bank. But the thing of it is, if we were ready for it, biggest thing, I don't have any way to go town, but going up there toward the water comment. It would have been ideal patching material, because he was willing to donate his time. He said, I'm done for the day. And he said, if you got someplace, so if I tell him again, you do it again, just bring it up here, we'll figure it out. It's gonna get all step it in. I got it.
Yeah, right.
Right, just back there. We can, like I say, we want to fix the top of Elm Street there, or drag the asphalt, slick slap the way between going in and out there, don't let you snap over there, so. That's why I got like,
He said it was in the back of his dump truck, doing all that. He said, I either got to dump it here somewhere or take it back to Port Alice and go down and spend. Yeah. I didn't have any place I needed it. I wasn't prepared for it. I don't have a way to get it. Yeah, but I'd sure love to see something up on. Yeah.
I like to get that, so that, that's going down on that steep path, you know, up there.
That's right.
What's that? Well, he doesn't drive, but he has a CDL.
Knows any problem with long change?
No.
Oh,
No, one of his.
his truck.
It wasn't.
I thought you guys were talking about JD.
No,
Sorry.
No.
I don't want to get him on his truck. It's an idea.
Oh, with the city's interest, but I'll call that customer in mind again next time you got asphalt, just run around out your little.
Don't throw it away.
I think I can figure that out.
Yeah.
I can make that work.
I mean, they'd be free.
Yeah, exactly. I like free.
Chamber it out.
Like I said, you dump it up there, Elm Street, I mean, you know, I'm usually there, pretty much there, most of them. You know,
I
like I
can set it
said,
off as taxes.
Well, and the biggest thing, it was for a job that he was working on. They didn't need it because they were done. You know, and he said, I'll donate my time wherever you want to put it.
that long apron I got, my driving go down to my shop there. Like Tesla was working for about 10 asphalt companies. Yeah, have a little truck, dump, asphalt need dump. Bring it out here, I wasn't ready for it, but I put it there. You know. And you put it down and just drive over the top and they'll pack it in. So that's how I did that.
Well, I'm just making a comment, the offer was made, and next time he comes around, I'll say, okay, this is where it needs to go.
Yeah, we'll get out there, dump it on the side there, we can spread it out there by hand or whatever, else get it down or whatever, get it leveled out.
Really good score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. Yeah, we're interrupting.
We got it.
So that's good news for you.
Yeah.
One at a time.
Anyway,
That's all I had for Jay's thing.
What about the water?
Yeah.
That works.
Oh, yeah. So those are the top five users for this most recent month. And he put that on there. I think he just wanted you all to be aware of who was using the most.
So my question would be, are these people current with their bills?
I could check on that.
Because I think that's more impactful. If they're like heavy hitters and they're in arrears and they're not paying, that's even more impactful.
Yeah, I could visit with you after. Utility information for individual utility users is privileged by law, so I could follow up with you after. Like, you're seeing this right now. The publicly available version of our council packet does not have that information because that would violate their rights. So we can revisit that afterward if you want.
Is there more that are close to that?
My screen's being recorded for the audio, so.
You know, I've got a customer that lives in Frankfurt City and they got a letter saying mandatory, you have about 30% of the water. Everybody has 50% of their land. And they put a mandatory. That 30%. First and second, it's only 1%. That's what's in there. But they don't mind paying the bill and they're all up to date.
Once they're up to date, I just have a concern if
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, I'm sure. Well, if there's Sunday morning with the close to the house. That's where I was. You need to be on the water truck and side. It's fine. It just worked on me.
and I know we are a complaint driven city. But it would be interesting to see if there's anything that we need to be complaining about. And I don't want to be a Nazi, but are they using water, are they breaking the rules to use water? Because what the water restriction is, you're not washing the car, how you really need the power wash. Of course, you can't do that.
Just, it's not depends on how nosy you want to get.
Yeah. But definitely, I would want to know if they're.
I don't think any of them on the list are in that.
And is it at my house?
well, one of it is. This is, but it's gonna take up too long. You can drill, I'm feeling pretty good. It take a long time.
No. But what's the?
There are 10 people who have used over 10,000 gallons.
It would be interesting to plot out. I mean, it's just the typical YouTube, but don't we have a family that has a 12 kids? That's probably difficult for them.
I know my house making mine. Got four volts,
And they're green.
so I mean, I don't know if that's typical or not.
In addition to those, there are 37 users who are over 5,000.
Yeah, they're over 5,000. I mean, I don't usually use the whole bunch, but I need water in my garden. And up higher, but. I would just be concerned about the people who don't normally do a lot, but during the time when we're supposed to work someone, they're doing a lot. And yes, they're gonna be charged and they have to pay for it, but. Broken record.
Well, we
Have they been
don't-
named to date?
And also, the kind of, I guess. Complaints. We would have to figure out. if we would want to put them in. To answer this, like, all right, if things get really bad, we're already hitting them hard. But then again, do we want to put like a number? Like, if you're over so much, especially if it's really bad, like you are now, and not keeping up. The game of the win, you say it's like. You haven't just. Be maybe. Like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, that's okay. Well, I was gonna, I don't want to get off topic. I was gonna do that with the neighbor lines. It's like, hey, man, do I need to help you with it?
But maybe,
I think that dump there is kind of. In my problem. Anyway, yeah, raise on the point. I think I emailed all of you about this recently. The water assistance, the utility assistance is ending in September because the federal funding for it is running out. So it's probably not going to be renewed unless the feds decide to renew it. So unfortunately, it's not going to be available to anybody after that. Yeah, that'll be rough. Yeah, a few people when I. What was that? The whole country's in yeah. So, yeah. Some of it has to do with the federal government just saying, yeah, you're not allowed to use the water around here. Like, I was talking with one of the commissioners in Union County last year, before I came here, and he was talking about how, you know, they have more than enough water to go around in Union County, but they legally have to declare a drought because the federal government requires so much of it to leave the county. Like, no, how about we use it and then you get what we don't use? And they go, no. Most of it has to go to the Pacific Ocean. You only get a little bit, and you also have to be in droughts. So.
Yeah, it started. They came up down, you take it down, take it down, so the fish can survive. What about all cows, the fish in the lake, they drop there, they up in the ocean. They don't get in the ocean, that's what the lake is. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the point is they want the Pacific Ocean to have as much water as possible, despite being an ocean, and us to have as little as water as possible. And if you don't like it, then that's it. I think it's
ice caps melting.
yeah, and that's also a problem, is that the ice caps are melting. The Antarctic ice shelf was growing for a bit, but now it is receding sharply.
You know, that's what Alaska did. Took out Apple City.
Yeah,
Anyway, next.
cool. All right, do we want to go to the next item?
Do that one.
All right. Yep, so we don't have to do a real public hearing on this. This is just going to be a review of the document that I put together rather than a formal public hearing on adoption. Because as I was putting it together, I was like, you know, this is going to be complicated. And I was thinking back and forth, do we want to vote on it? Do we want to do a first reading? Do we want to just talk about it first? And I gave it to Sodaville, and she left me a ton of questions like, we should probably look at this first. Like, you know what? It's really bad idea to vote on any sort of this today. So we're just gonna look at it and
I really
see where it
would
goes.
suggest that you all take the time to read it, because there's I had some questions about it.
And I think the big book in the
Yeah,
back.
yes, you know, something to drink and like water and
Exactly.
Yeah.
read through it.
It's like water.
I read it quite good. I just read all of it.
Yeah, the way this came about. So first off, I am 3 months older than our current procurement policy, which is 29 years out of date and out of compliance with 29 years worth of procurement laws. Right now, the rule is, or the law is in the state of Oregon, if your city doesn't have its own procurement code, then it has to use the state's code. If it's not going to use the state's code, it still has to have its own code that complies with statutes. And we are 30 years out of compliance with the relevant statutes. I know enough about procurement law that we haven't like really resolved anything since I've been here. But we do need to be more stringent with the way we are obeying these laws. The League of Oregon Cities put together this model ordinance a while back. It's, you know, their attorneys put it together and reviewed it, said, okay, if the city adopts this, they'll do okay. There are a number of things in there that we can change, and I think that we should change. I know you pointed out like a list of all the large amounts that I would just be given discretionary authority to spend, and that didn't sit well with me either.
I wish we had that much.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let me see if I can find your here. Public notice is required for intermediate procurements with a contract price equal to or exceeding $50,000. Says contracts for goods or services with a contract price greater than 10,000 and less than 150,000 are intermediate. So that's probably an ORS rule. Generally, you are supposed to, pardon me, generally you are supposed to post public notices for your procurements when you're putting something out to bid.
So my intent was not to tie Alex's hands. I think we should have the right to make decisions being burned in the past. I really think there needs to be a check and balance and a watch. And the amounts that they have in that book were just huge, in my opinion. So I don't want to set us up for failure.
Yeah.
Yes, Alex keeps saying, yeah, did you see this comment the last paragraph? Yes.
Yep.
That's independent, that's behind.
Yeah, and I agree. I didn't feel like your comments were construed to tie my hands. They were very, very good things for us to pay attention
You're an
to.
employee, and sometimes you gotta walk out here, this person comes in, sees that, oh, yeah, I can spend $150,000, no problem.
Yeah.
Boom, we're in trouble. That's all
Yeah.
our budget.
There's one section in here that's like contracts that are subject to award at the city manager's discretion. Copyrighted materials. So that is for libraries. They don't want the city council to have to put out a bid anytime they want to buy a lot of books for the library. So the city manager can just say, yeah, we're buying books, the end. We don't have a library, so that's not something if there's a point where I'm buying a bunch of copyrighted books, that should be something you go, hey now, why? Yeah. So that is something I would very easily be okay with just wiping out, because we don't have a library. We could have a library. There's the several city resolutions if you want to take. Yeah, I want to have a library. Yeah, so we don't have a library yet. Maybe someday we can have a library, but yeah, what else? Contract amendments. Contract amendments should not be considered to be separate contracts if made in accordance with the ordinance. So if a contract needed to be amended, the city manager could just amend it. I could see there are some housekeeping changes that could need to be made, like if there was a typo that resulted in a portion of the contract actually being different than it should be. That'd be one thing, but ultimately I think the council should be reviewing amendments to contracts. So that's not something I would want to keep. Equipment repair, yeah, whenever the car breaks down, we kind of just need to fix the car. That makes sense. Government regulated items. That's a nice gimme if we want to go to the state surplus house and just buy some supplies, you know, that keeps us from having to do a bid for something simple. Non-owned property. Contracts or arrangements for the sale or other disposals of abandoned property or other personal property not owned by the city. Yeah. Specialty goods for resale. Sponsorship agreements. If we wanted to sponsor something, we don't really sponsor a whole lot of things. Yeah, right. So we do have the community relations budget. I think is something that under certain circumstances could be used for sponsor things, but there's not a whole lot of that going on. There just isn't, frankly. I know when I was working at the translator district, we were really kind of like a state-owned or a democratically governed enterprise. Basically, we had to sell and market a product in order to get revenue. So we sponsored things all the time, and it helped our bottom line because, yeah, people have to have water. So it's not like, hey, sponsored by Sodaville water utility isn't really going to do anything because people are already buying, and we don't want them to be buying a lot of water right now.
Yeah.
So it kind of really is self-defeating. So anything like that, I think I would probably want to bring before the council if it was a really good idea.
Would it be helpful for any of you to see the comments that I made, or do you just want to do your own comments? No, I mean,
Yeah, so this one's going to be really, really complicated.
it's long.
And yeah, it's not going to be very, very fun. The alternative, though, is that we have to use the state's 200-page long manual and 100-page long RFP template when we want people to bid. So this is 175 pages shorter than what state would have us do. So I think we come out ahead. Yeah, it's like contract for the disposal of structures located on city-owned property. I think if somebody's going to be demolishing a building, the council should probably know about that. We've only got 3 or 4, but you know, you should probably be aware. So I want to strike that. Contract renewals, I still want that to be, I think, something the council does. I think that makes a lot more sense. Because it could be the council is, you know, not satisfied with something. And if you just gave me discretion to renew a contract that you aren't satisfied with, that's a problem. Temporary use of city-owned property. So that's one thing that I think we could.
And yeah, I'm just kind of on this, but I don't have.
Temporary use of city-owned properties. So like if somebody wants to use city hall as an event venue, like that would be some, but I already do that basically. Is yeah, sure, you can have your event here. You know, pay to be whatever it is. Used property contract for the purchase of used property by negotiation. If such property is suitable for the city's needs, it can be used for a lower cost than used.
I'm just trying to do all that.
Yeah, I would recommend putting this on and just
Yeah.
going through and write notes. If it is, I think he's just trying to get like a.
I'm trying to understand where he's at. So I belong with him.
Let me try and find this for you. It's
It doesn't mean anything being like there's a spell in the word there.
okay.
You think that that is the most expensive, and I didn't understand that if you can do it. I thought,
Well, I looked through it, I just. Don't know where he's at within it. Are we able to on the property?
So this is section 9. You can find that on a big title heading. There we go. Section 9. So it should be, I'm on 2 pages after that. So the top of the one.
Contract subject to award by the city recorder administration and construction. Do that. Or use
Yes.
property.
That's correct. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yep. Sorry. That's me. Okay. Used property was the next one. That seems like a way to get out of contracting for something. Just to be blunt, I don't like that. Utilities, I think I should let the council know when we need a utility, but we're already working, we already kind of get the bills for garbage and everything else, and we just kind of pay those, so. Conference and meeting room contracts, yeah, so if I'm me or JD book a trip to a thing, we don't want to put that out to a bid to go to a hotel for a conference. So Yeah, some of those things I say we keep, some of those things I say we delete. And I can make a list of the things that I like and don't like, and you can all make a list of things you like and don't like. And then we will put together an ordinance that reflects what the council wants. The big thing here, one, there's always the civil liability of not following state procurement law. Somebody could just never think of some, nobody has, nobody's threatened to, but that's good to take care of. The other one is when I was talking with Business Oregon, they're like, you're gonna have to make sure your procurement policies are up to date. And it's like, mine's from 1994, and they said that was changed it. So, yeah, this is the best one we can get. But obviously, there are things that need to be updated. Yeah, here's one. We looked up. So for contracts and purchases covered by this ordinance, the city recorder is authorized to award contracts and amendments without specific authorization by the city council whenever the amount is $100,000 or less. I think you should be aware when I'm spending $100,000.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we've ever spent that much on
Unless
the
you're writing
training.
checks out of your personal funds.
Yeah, well, that's not happening. Yeah. Yeah, to award and to execute, both would be given in there. Yeah, some things about this model ordinance really don't make a whole lot of sense to me.
But I think you're kind of getting out what you think is good to say and not good to say.
Yeah,
You know, maybe that's how it elaborate on.
yeah. Yeah, $100,000 seems to be kind of their sweet spot for what I can just spend.
That's not.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Office supply, I mean.
Yeah. Or you're buying a truck or something like that. It's
Or
gotta be-
use that on coffee, probably.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. For Portland, it doesn't really make sense.
Well, I guess most of my data.
Yeah, probably remove it, maybe amend it. Right now, I like to bring the maximum amount of things to the council's discretion because we're not spending a lot of money on a ton of things. Anything that really needs to be done, I bring it up to you all. So far, most of these RFPs we've issued have been related to very specific things like RFP for the water plan cost estimate. We have a state grant we're trying to get, so we need to do this. Okay. RFP for the diving. We need to do that. That's a state requirement. There aren't going to be like a ton of RFPs that go out every year. We keep our expenses low, and we don't branch out where we shouldn't be branching out because we don't have the money to just branch out. But also, this other fun one: purchases of any goods or services in excess of 7,500 by city employees require the city manager's authorization. So JD could spend $7,000 on stuff, and he wouldn't even need to ask me. You just go, I wonder where that went. So also not a great thing. So basically what I'd like to do is get feedback from all of you on what you would like to remove or amend. And then at the next city council meeting, we'll bring out this amended one so that we can pass a document that reflects pretty clearly what we all think is the best way to do this. Because, this gives me a lot of authority up front to spend a lot of money without really any oversight, and that's not great. I don't think the league was really thinking of small cities at the time. Ultimately, most of this is generally in compliance with what the state, it is in compliance with what the state wants, but we don't have to. This is kind of like the upper limits of what the state allows. We don't want to be at the upper limits. We're a much smaller operation. If I spend $100,000 right now, that is half the money we have in the bank, and
We'll
that's
hunt you down.
yeah, you will hunt me down.
So I would say in the states, big book, they would have your minimum.
So everything here is like the maximums are listed. So like the $100,000 limit. That's
No, I'm saying, so that alone.
no. actually.
So you can remove it completely.
Yep.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You have to have a minimum to mean you have to have it.
Yeah.
It just.
Yep.
Well, that would answer my question I had earlier, like just having someone over with a grant.
Yeah.
If JD has the power to use money.
Yeah.
To the call the dump truck and have them deliver it up.
Yeah.
I mean, in the situation.
Exactly. Yeah, there is a one in here about emergency procurement. See if I can find.
Yeah, it's section 9.
Yeah, there we go.
Section 9 procurement.
That's right. If I determine that there's an emergency, then I can execute a contract without competitive selection. But all things being equal, we should try to not do that.
Yeah.
See, so if I enter into an emergency contract, I need to document the nature of the emergency, the method for selecting the contractor, and the reason why the selected mentioned method was deemed in the best interest of the city and the public. So I have to write a report. You know, if we like suddenly needed a pile of rocks somewhere, I'd go, okay, here's why we needed the emergency. Here's how we selected it and why we selected it. And also I will have to notify the council, so I can't just buy a bunch of stuff. You would also have to be kept in the loop. Yeah. Yeah, if you all could give me a list of things that you would like to remove or amend, that would be.
Because it looks to me like.
Yeah.
But it looks to me like, once you get a drop down, of what you feel like is right, and I think you know more about what's right than I do anyway. Then you put the drops out and then you go to the.
Yeah, I think so that we would probably call that a first reading. So once we come up with one that has everybody's comments synthesized, we would have a first reading on the ordinance. And then we would table it and then have the second reading, if there are any comments that anybody wants to. So ultimately, we would approve the final version of this in October, given that September would be our first reading where we discuss changes. And then if there are any more changes that come up at that September meeting, then the final draft will be put together for us to review in October.
Will that be the criteria for language initial, but doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yep.
And to clarify, are you giving us a draft of what you think is right, or we're sending you your comments and you'll put those with the draft?
Yeah, if you could all send me your comments, I'll have some things that I'll be working on too. I ideally will probably all kind of land on some of the same conclusions, like $100,000 is a little too much. Yeah, that kind of thing. But there may be some things that some of us point out that other of us don't miss, or by the end of the document, we're just exactly, yeah, even I get that way sometimes. Yeah, it is written weird. Yeah, it was written by attorneys.
Or by a politician.
Keep telling me, I hate politicians.
That's a 4-letter word.
Yeah, right. So if anybody who holds or seeks elected public or political party office as a politician.
It's 1981.
The biggest politician of us all.
Yeah. It's got a new thing, yes. I didn't know what city.
Yeah. The other one in here is called cooperative procurement. It says you may make those without competitive solicitation. So an example of that is the way we're putting together SMAC. The local government agencies found a lobbyist with a good cost who understood our cause. And we all basically jointly hire him to be the executive director for the Advocacy Coalition. And yeah, that's something we can do without having to put it out to bid first. Yep. Well, anything else we wanted to talk about for this one?
Get your eye drops.
Yeah. Good. And sorry for not giving better direction for where we were at the package.
No, I thought I was following along.
And then suddenly it's like, wait, what we're gonna go? Yeah.
I just find my hearing as.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing I should make sure I do. So thanks for letting me know it was. All right.
And what do you need to buy?
Let's see. Thinking about that. So the third Thursday in September is the 21st. So normally I would have the council packet completed by the 14th. But we also talked about doing it the second Thursday of next month, given that you're going to be out of the country. I think it might be during the council comments time. We can probably talk about the upcoming meeting schedule a little bit more. If that works for you. Then we can figure out. Yeah. Once we figure out formalize the next meeting date, then we can say when I need the comments back. All right. Yep. So now we have to pull up the script. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you have another?
No, I didn't have, I have concern.
Okay.
Well, now, the public hearing consider the board minutes, the hearing will be conducted as follows. When you make the opening statements and saying, when testifying, please give your name now, but for the record. Please review testifying, please give testimony related to that application and be as concise as possible. Although this is not necessary in most hearings, we may have to limit your testimony to no more than 3 minutes. Does any member of the audience have any objections to the council?
Yeah.
Does any member of the city council have a conflict of interest with regards to this request? If so, please indicate the nature of the conflict of interest and leave the conversation. Does any council member have pre-hearing contact with any party involved in the case, either for or against the proposal? If so, please explain your pre-hearing contact.
Mr. Mayor, so because Councilor Oliveras is our packet reviewer, she did review this beforehand and make some comments on it.
I will have Alex, the city administrator report the ordinance in its entirety. Unless someone on the council would like to make a motion to have the title read on. Yeah, motion there. Ordinance by title only. All in favor? Any opposed?
Alrighty. Ordinance 2308, amending the council rules and procedure. And then the next up on them. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to present it now. Which I'm supposed to present it now. I think I'm on this stuff, but yeah. Okay, so ordinance 2308. So as when I first talked to the mayor about wanting to change our meeting date for this month, it's like, oh, we should make sure we're okay to just flip the meeting date around. And the funny thing about our council rules and procedures is that we're actually not meeting the correct date according to our own ordinances. We're supposed to meet on the fourth Tuesday of the month rather than the third Thursday. So I figured we ought to amend this to the actual meeting date we choose. That seems to make sense. The second section of this was that right now it says dates and times the regular council meetings may be changed because of special circumstances, but it doesn't say who makes that. So I wanted to say somebody specifically should have that responsibility. And I had chosen the mayor because he's presiding officer of the council, and then the idea would be in his absence, the council president, because he's the backup presiding officer. And if not him, then the city recorder could do it. So that was just my suggestion for that. Part of the idea of having one person do it is to avoid running afoul of serial communications laws. If we just give one person, otherwise we kind of are in the boat where we would have to hold a special meeting just to vote on it to have eight, yeah, and that's kind of clunky. Or, you know, that was kind of it. But yeah, so that was,
Since 1980, we changed the days and times and everything, but I don't know how many times. It started out, it was Tuesday, then it's Wednesdays, then it's Thursdays. It's been, I've been back and forth all the time, over the day. I think it's never Monday, so Friday.
so that's my presentation. If anyone in the county told me
Yes, I do.
go for it.
I have a couple of questions. Number one, I think our current leadership is, first of all, we're not a council with just one person's in charge. I don't know why, but we all have the same voting power, et cetera. With our current leadership, I think that's great that the mayor can make the decision. I'm concerned about the future and how this might be mismanaged by someone. You see, it's happened all the time, but you know, in the future, could we have someone sitting in the mayor's street seat to say, I'm gonna change it this time, I'm gonna change it this time, I'm gonna change it this time. And then that means that everybody has to come in line with it. And a part of that question would also be, you know, we have an expectation of attendance. And you can have only so many unexcused absences. You know, I really personally try and make it my best, and I, for the most part, put all of my life around attending council meetings. And so if all of a sudden they get changed, I have no input. And I end up missing several because now I can't make them because they've been in this change. Does that then bite me in the butt as an unexcused absence and I use my sleep? So those are my concerns.
Yeah,
And-
those are very good ones.
And serial communication, are you part of that? I mean, I thought we could talk to you. So could we talk to you and say, you know, I think I need to have it changed because of whatever, and you're like, well, let me talk to the other people so that it'd be me talking to you rather than me talking to. I just, I'm worried about future people sitting in that chair.
It's got all of that. We discussed it. The whole council was in agreement with changing the dates and times. Especially during John Devon.
I don't want to make it clunky, but I want to protect this for the future. And I also have the concern of unexcused absences. You know, if it's not your fault, you're knowing that, man, I do my very best that every third Thursday I'm gonna be here. And all of a sudden, oh, they're on Tuesdays, no, they're on Wednesdays. And we can't make them.
Doesn't it have to be posted?
That's not after the fact, though. I mean, look at JPA Point. He already has something planned for tonight. He can't make it.
Right.
So not that he's listening to something, but I mean, we got it together. So it's just, I want to protect them from somebody who sits in that chair who maybe wouldn't do the best for the council. And also, if all of a sudden the debates start moving around, how does that impact somebody?
So me, that's my favorite, like if I wanted to change it, like contact Alex, contact everybody.
I like that better.
Okay.
Cause I don't feel like I should be the one if you change to make them all, everybody. And everybody compliment what you would say, everybody, you get the wrong person, they can change it on the spot every freaking month. So that would be like,
Well, the only make the mayor allow it for like a day. Determine what you heard. It can't just be a convenient. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, a tool that being
yeah, it could.
forward, like I don't like you, so I know that you have, I'm gonna change all the time, and guess what, you're gonna use that other speed gap into, but.
Could we also add? Because it says meeting being provided advance notice. I think there should be a time within there. Within 14 days of the meeting, within,
Not just like.
not just like last minute, I don't know, is that something that could word in there? Or is that sound? Just a minute.
I mean, that
Yeah.
can be, like you said.
So,
emergency or something.
Currently, we have a 7-day notice.
Okay.
Of council meetings, so if we want to, normally, when the day I deliver all of your packages, also the day I post it publicly, I put it on the website and I contact the newspaper and there's going to be a public meeting, so. Yeah, there is definitely advance notice already, and that's not gonna change.
And I would imagine, I mean, we have to have a forum, so not everybody has to be here every single time. And I think for you, next week, we still have a forum if you weren't here, and I understand that we're having a meeting tonight because you're on vacation next week. And I quite frankly don't want to run that. I don't want it, so I appreciate being able to change it, although, anything happens, so we should probably be able to cover it.
Okay,
Yeah, I can't see this need coming up all very often to change it.
yeah, this is,
We have a time.
It's usually pretty, pretty agreement to make change.
yeah. I mean, there's kind of a bit here if we're talking about this being used for nefarious purposes in the future, is that this is an ordinance, so all it requires is the city council vote for it. So if there were a case, for example, where the council believed that somebody who was going to abuse this this power was going to become the mayor, they could change the ordinance and go, okay, well, even if you get here, you're not doing it, but that mayor could also, with enough votes to get it changed back anyway.
I just don't think it, and nothing against you, it shouldn't be unilateral decision.
So we're discussing. Or a combination of the.
I mean, I think it needs to be, who's gonna say it? If you really want to attend a meeting, are we all gonna, change it just for one person? As long as we have a quorum, you don't need to be here, that's what the other council. I don't need to be here, you just need people. But I think there should be hey, Adina, is this okay? Do you think you can make it? Because you may find out maybe in that meeting, a lot of us have a thing and you won't even have a quorum.
Yeah.
So there does need to be communication, not to each other, because that's against the rules, but, go to Alex and I would like to change it for this reason. Now it's been, hey, Roger, hey.
That's why I think that Alex is better than my position. Because I can talk to the guy.
But I don't think you should be the full decision maker. Because that's before.
We could jointly say the mayor and the recorder may make the decision. No,
No, I personally, I feel very. Just because we had a mayor
Well,
and a recorder. and
so
everyone-
so it would be, first off, I would have to communicate with people,
Yes,
and then a decision could be made.
I just think it needs to be communicated with all of us. And at that point, you might find out you're not gonna have enough quorum. If you set that date. I think that takes the real communication away. If the mayor comes up and says, I think we need to change it from whatever. We go, hey, everybody can, and we'll still have a quorum and everything is great, but just one person is in that decision. I think that. It's
I have. Totally, it wasn't gonna be here next week. I'm gonna be in Spain for 3 weeks. And I was just.
Like I say, before our last year, yeah, it was. But they're like, yeah. And we stayed for apparently years. Wednesday, then Thursdays. Did not change. It has, doesn't change that often because usually, it's them, people know it can happen.
So here's what I can propose for tonight. I'd like to at least get the ordinance aligned with our actual meeting date. So what the city charter says in chapter 8, section 34, an ordinance read by title only has no legal effect. It differs substantially from its terms as it was filed prior to the reading unless each section so differing is read fully and distinctly in open council meeting before the council adopt the ordinance. It's a little weird because in this case, what I'm asking you to do is delete the entire section of the ordinance. The part where we're talking about having the mayor be the person. I think we can talk about that at next council meeting, but we can still update the first one. So if I'm in compliance with the charter correctly, what I think I'm going to say out loud is section 3.2 is hereby deleted. Section paragraph 3.2 is hereby deleted from ordinance 2308. Not ordinance 1201. So then somebody would make the motion to read the ordinance as amended. Once we've gone through the public comments portion of this.
I counted, I don't know.
Yeah, JD said he's not gonna be here either. Yeah, project and trailer meeting. there.
You can call
Yeah,
it
it's favorite thing.
anything.
That's true. Well, it zooms, it works since we. Yeah.
Are we not worth it?
They don't have generators.
Yeah, right? Great.
You know, all I get is. Now, and it's always say, mayor.
Yeah, there you go. How do you vote?
Mayor saying, wake up, yes.
Well, do we want to move on to the next part of the description? Just solicit public comment, which I don't think there would be any.
All people wishing to testify, we have the ordinance now. Remember to give you an address for the record. Do any council members or staff having further questions? All people wishing to testify in opposition to the ordinance and now testify. Please give your name and address. Do any council members or staff have any questions? The other people wish to testify. Is there anyone who wishes to testify in the final testimony that is final? Before I close, before I continue the public hearing, any additional questions from the council member or staff? What is the hearing has been called and the county manager staff? Public hearing is now open. Now discuss ordinance.
So how is this going to be done?
So there would be a motion to adopt ordinance 2308 as amended. So upon passage, we would only be adopting the first part of that, section 301 that says our meetings are the third Thursday of the month rather than fourth Tuesday. The rest of that, the substance of that would be discussed at the next meeting with a new ordinance. So we don't have to do anything crazy. Yep, finally. Yep.
Yeah, make it nice on me.
Oh, I'm making a motion to.
So I do actually just, so we just like, as amended.
Cool. All in favor?
All right, now we have to start the whole script again.
Yeah, from nine. Oh, no, the public hearing is considered the ordinance. The hearing will be conducted as follows. I will make the opening statement and setting the ground. When testifying, please give your name and address. For those who are testifying, please give testimony related to the application as concise as possible. Although this is not necessarily most during the may ask for the limited testimony. Remember that the city council have conflict of interest with regards to the request. If those things indicate the nature of your conflict of interest and lead to conflict of interest. The city council member has free during contact with any party involved in the case, either for or against the proposal. If so, please explain your previously contact. We'll find out the terms of the meeting and the ordinance and its entirety. Last time on the council, would like to make a motion to have it. It is reported as the
And then we read this by title.
Ordinance 2309, resting locations. All right. This is an annoying one. We talked about, we had to pass an ordinance about camping within the city limits over here. And one kind of leftover recommendation from our legal counsel. Basically, everything we did in that ordinance was good, but there was just kind of one thing we were missing in order to be in full compliance. And that is what is here, is that we do need to specifically have a place in the city where we say, we're not going to kick you out if you are resting. And the legal counsel's recommendation also to best comply with the law for our purposes was to have somewhere, have two different spaces open at two different 12-hour periods. So right now, our parks ordinance says that Soda Springs Park, which is across the street, that one is closed from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m. from April to September, and closed from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. From October 1st to March 31st. So the idea was that since that park is already open during the day and closed at night, we do have to have another place where people can rest without having that right to rest infringed in order to be in compliance with the law. And JD's suggestion was the what is down there is technically considered Mineral Springs Park. Soda Springs, Mineral Springs. So our idea was to say the right to rest will not be infringed if you're on Mineral Springs Park, which is the place down there, as long as you're not using the pit toilet or you're not in the driveway right there. Most people probably aren't going to be sleeping down in the driveway, but we just want to make sure people know you're not allowed. Well, it's
They can sleep in the yard, it's the whole thing's apart.
So we see them sleeping at night in their car and we said no, so now we say yeah.
Most things does not rest on the paved portion.
yeah.
Theory, say, sorry, man, if you want to stay here, you can't stay in your car, you gotta go sleep in the dirt or on it like that. That was
Yeah.
Because you gotta be careful where you're working.
Yeah.
I would put it like that. And or you currently sleep on the pavement.
Yeah, that's
Right.
So,
Yeah.
forgive me, I'm having a blonde moment with this. So the park across the street, Soda Springs, is that a rest area, day or night?
during the day, yes.
So somebody conceivably, and I don't mean to sound like an ogre, but somebody conceivably could pitch their tent in the middle of the basketball court?
No, so it's the right to rest is physically different from the right to camp, and we didn't instill a right to camp, and Martin Reed Boys, you did instill a right to camp. they're allowed to rest. So if somebody could sleep on the grounds, they couldn't set up a camp. They're not allowed to do
In
that.
the middle of the basketball court, so nobody could use it.
Um, right now, they're allowed to sleep on ADA access, ramps that are public. And the people who have disabilities are out of luck, according to Martin versus Boise.
That's part of the top of the house, that's their problem.
Yeah, we could designate a smaller portion of that area. We could say you're not allowed to rest on the basketball court. Because there is a sizable portion of the park where somebody could just like rest, and not really disturb anybody. And we could probably refine that in a future version of this ordinance.
And again, I don't mean to be an older, I'm happy that if they want to rest, but that's also, we put a lot into that park. And it could be open to the citizens
Yeah,
for usage, so if there is grass area around it. You know, they could rest there.
yeah, I think we could refine that in the future.
And what do you mean by refining the feature? So we'd have to vote on it tonight, but then later we're gonna go back and move it.
So the reason for the time sensitivity of this is that. So that there was the Supreme Court, sorry, not Supreme Court, there was an appeals court case that basically said you have the right to rest on public property if you don't have anywhere else to go. And it applies to every public jurisdiction in the state or in the country. Yeah, sorry. Now there is a bit of discretion that states had with how they implemented this. And there was a specific nonprofit group that lobbied the most severe version of this into existence as a revenue generation strategy. Their idea is to go around and find and that's how they plan to make their money going forward in the future, is by filing lawsuits against cities that just didn't quite get it right. Yeah.
So is there a reason, so then that we couldn't approve this as amended and the amended being not within the basketball court and do that tonight? And meet that time constraint?
Let me look at the charter again, because the charter, I think part of the way the charter was put together was to make sure that people had a chance to look at ordinances before they were passed. And I'm sure the school would love that.
If you wouldn't get a park,
Yeah.
it's public property.
Yeah, but you have
No, it's not public property.
the property side of
The
it.
easements,
Yeah.
yeah, that's on the easement property. It's not, it's not, it's the city property, it's not, it's not. That's public property, that's easement. They're across there. They're not some feet of, 15 feet wide, or thereabouts. You know, it's fair. But it also got, the rock there up there, it's public access property, we have an open area up on the development class of needs. It's been afforded other places.
And whatever we do in this fight, we need to make sure our signage is. As far as, things can be open.
Well, what's it not them? Not the basketball area, we're just finding out, and that's the building. Last thing on the table. They go in there, they'd be a part of the parks leaders. Yeah, make it part of the rules of the park.
Yeah. Well, so this ordinance is amending the park place. So that's what we're doing tonight. I'll just figure this out. Which further?
Doesn't have to be-
How many people trying to camp?
Well, when you're in a farm, when people camp in tents,
Homeless, they need, they like to be close to services. You need. People that have a vehicle, looking for the state by their vehicle, because that's where they're stuck at that. Now, fairly rarely, but at the time. Outside, so. People that don't have cars are gonna be here in the city. Because you're both all your resources.
Not necessarily, yeah. And we've had people up behind the one tower. That have cars out there.
Other vehicles, right?
Walking, no,
No,
walking.
I mean, I got. a couple people in mind, but, I don't see it as a big deal, but.
So it says, no person shall attempt to cause or bring about any public demonstration or disturbances on or in any way creates a public nuisance. That's one of our current rules. So we could say, hey, that's disrupting the basketball court is a public nuisance. There is space around for you to rest on. You need to rest there in order to be in compliance.
But in all fairness, we need to, whoever would be doing that, know that straight out and not say, oh, we need to, if you're doing a public nuisance, they don't know. Unless it's part of our park sign.
Fair enough, right, it's-
I wouldn't want anything that would inhibit kids from going to drinks or say that.
Maybe get the fence around that.
Do a little key card too. So.
Oh.
A key card. So that only city residents can get it.
Yeah, I see a lot of people driving here about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Tons of people.
Party up here.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't think that thing was, I didn't think they would use that first, they could use that time to get in there, but that's a lot of people use it. I don't like the way it was to bring some diet in there, I think it's that easier to drink, because they begin playing and take care of properly. But, yeah. I know it's been done now. That means, otherwise I'd be turned in for, even the old council meetings, that could even, that meetings, they wrote on it, yeah.
That could be a word in like the right to rest, go to Spring Park. Will not be infringed. Provided that they are not resting on the basketball court. Yeah, inside the bathroom. Yeah, that's like. Like, those folks are down there, I'm sure there's something that says, no resting in the bathrooms, so the Spring Park.
I think we're gonna have to update our signage though.
Yeah, that's all that's only. And then, they'll look at law, that Boise law, that wouldn't change anything, like they would have, they'd have a right to rest anyway. Yeah, but they can't play it. But that's the tough thing that like Portland and Salem are doing with all them people, all with them camped out, like on the streets. They don't let the authority move them. Get it lawsuit. But I agree with you, I'm not saying, it's just like saying that's probably the simplest way to come to that combination, but and the loitering stuff.
But I think the rescue, supersedes loitering.
Yeah.
They can't do it out.
Exactly.
Okay, so. Make sure we get this done once again in accordance with. Charter of the city of Sodaville.
No.
So in order for this to be allowed, it has to be read fully and distinctly in open council before the council adopts the ordinance. So basically I have to read this new section and you'll have to be okay with it. So Yeah, so a sentence that we will add to the end of what is already here. The sentence will read, the right to rest at Soda Springs Park will not be infringed, provided that an individual does not rest on the basketball court, on playground equipment, or in the public bathrooms. Okay, so we can add that. Okay. Anything?
A generic kind of question. Is there anything for the responsibility of cleaning up the mess?
Yeah, that's in there. That's already in our park ordinances. Section I says no bottle, cans, ashes, waste paper, garbage, sewage, or other rubbish shall be left in the park except in receptacles designated for that purpose. Well, we go through that.
People which can testify in that. Board meetings, you know, testify. Remember to get their name and address. We need to probably remember which. People with. If anyone wishes to testify, you are called to the testimony that was done on. Before I close and continue the public hearing, are there any additional questions from complimentary staff? As anyone that has testified. Once the hearing has been closed and the council members or staff. The hearing is now closed. The city council will now discuss before you make a decision. Now, make motion.
Move to adopt ordinance 2309 as amended. That's what you have to say.
I'm gonna make the motion, we adopt ordinance 2309 as amended. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And then the next one, you'll have to open a public hearing of the contract review board. No.
Just open.
Yep.
Open a public hearing for the contract.
All right. Now, we've got two contracts to review tonight. One is with Tate Public Affairs to form the SMAC entity, right? Great. The other one is with DLCD. That's a biannual grant. It is something that should be approved by the council. The last time we entered into this grant agreement, the city manager did it without the council's approval. So we're gonna do it the right way this time. I know. It's an extra $2,000, or it works out to like $1,000 a year or something like that. That helps fund my salary for when I have to deal with planning things. Last year I used that to cover the portion of my salary that went to digitizing all of our planning ordinances and strategic plans and dealing with other planning things that came through. So it's just a very simple thing. So I'll go over the SMAC one first. So this is with Tate Public Affairs, and we will be approving specifically the Tate Public Affairs contract and the SMAC addendum. So working with the other cities in the SMAC coalition, we came to the agreement, or the best way to go about this was to basically all jointly hire Tate Public Affairs, who's a local lobbyist, and have him be the executive director of our coalition. He's the lobbyist that's currently used by Middle County. Part of the agreement is that we would officially have to to name him our lobbyist with the GEC, and we would have to file quarterly reports saying that, yes, we have him as our lobbyist, and here's how much we spent. The scope of work that's included in the contract and the addendum are specifically about our participation in SMAC. There is a portion of the contract that allows us to have him do additional work beyond the scope of work in SMAC. Like right now, the way it's going to work is that he will jointly train counselors and other city officials on advocacy, and he will go to our legislators and go, hey, here's the list of things that SMAC supports. Please do this. If we go, hey, Sean, while you're in there, could you just have another sidebar with Jamie Kate about a thing? You'll say, yes, here's the separate bill for that. We're not planning on doing that because we don't have enough money for that. And also, I think we have the resources ourselves internally to conduct those conversations. Case in point, we've got $370,000 in roads here with a professional lobbyist on staff. Yeah, so yeah, that is the thrust of the contract with Tate Public Affairs. All of us signing this means that we're getting him as our lobbyist, and we are doing this just for SMAC. And I don't think there's an expectation that we're going to use him for other stuff. If we want to, we can. That costs money, but we didn't budget for it, so we're not going to spend it.
Now we have your questions or-
Yes.
So is there any, I remember reading that and putting comments on, but is there anything within this where he can go out and do something on his own and come back and say, "Hmm,
No, that will have to be something that we specifically tell him to do. And I think that was an example I was trying to give, is that, you know, he's going to go to the Capitol and he's going to meet with Jamie Kate, for example, and say, here's a list of SMAC's legislative priorities. Please vote yes or no, etc. If we say, hey, Sean, while you're there, can you have her do the specific thing for Sodaville? Then he can bill us for that. And that's in the contract. But we will not be doing that.
but there's
So-
nothing you can do on his own." Again, I
No.
remember saying that.
Yeah, no, that was a good thing for you to comment on, because it is something that we just need to make sure we're careful of. Because, you know, he is a professional and all of his hours are worth money. So it's a good thing for him to get down and make sure that we understand if he does something beyond the scope of work as it relates to SMAC, then we are going to have to pay him for that. It's not a free, oh, he's our catch-all lobbyist for everything. We are just having him be our joint executive director for SMAC.
No, that would be probably that much.
Yeah. Yep.
What, I like the idea, but what's the benefit? Our lobbyists have to get the gap, like what's important to him to talk to David that we can't talk to David about? I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so what's the benefit, like, I understand that as a whole, all of the cities get behind one voice, but like, you know, usually lobbyists are experts in specific fields. So is he like just a general, like I would guess, like, you know, is he like a conservation or is it okay, yeah, you know, like more industrial, you know, from getting bigger buildings and more.
He's the lobbyist for Lynn County.
So
So local government is his perhaps.
local, okay, all right.
Yeah.
The county's also there. Small cities and very big cities try to lure everybody else.
Yeah, we are also trying to grow SMAC beyond just the small number of cities in Montgomery County. Our goal is for this to go statewide.
Yeah, I remember when he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Scott, yeah.
The presentation.
Yeah.
Kind of like a League of Cities, but restart.
They start doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, lobbyists go in the building with usually years of relationships that they can use to better secure opportunities to meet with legislators and staff.
So he's gonna be able to get to the door. And see what's up. This view. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing about this, what makes it a little unique for Sodaville. I can already do all of that. But we are together much more able to get projects through jointly. So, you know, I was able to secure $370,000 for the city of Sodaville. That was great. I can't go to Jamie Kate and go, hey, could you introduce a bill to make it so we don't have to do TMDL anymore? She'll go, oh, yeah, sure. And that's gonna kind of be the end of it. If 10 cities from her district go, hey, we want you to co-sponsor this, and 10 cities from somebody else's district go, we want you to co-sponsor this, and there's one lobbyist going, hey, please do this. They're gonna go, oh, okay. Yeah.
Numbers out.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and it's one of those, like I said, we're kind of unique in this district because you have me. I know how to get stuff done there. Everybody else is like, what are we doing?
So I guess kind of like. To just, in my opinion, we're really not benefiting from paying this, but in the long term is where it's gonna pay off, right?
Yeah,
I don't see Tyler and him what's he gonna do helping us with our water issue, right?
yeah.
I just don't, I'm trying to.
Water could be
understand.
one. PMDL has been a specific one we talked
Okay,
about.
that's one of them.
Yeah, and that's something that I couldn't do money on is getting an exemption for Sodaville and not have to do it. There's no way, but
That'd be something we could help.
exactly.
But would it, and correct me if I'm wrong, water is important, but wouldn't, isn't it, I mean, you helped us, that was great, but if we have 10 other cities going, hey, we need some help with water, then we're one after many.
Yeah.
And many have more voices than this one, so it seems like we're kind of double doing it that way.
Yeah, no, I see that, I'm just kind of looking at it, type of thing where as a whole it looks good, but there's gonna be a few that are gonna benefit a whole lot more than one.
But that's also why we're paying the least out of everybody else.
Yeah.
Our dues are this small.
I mean, like I said, I want to do it, I just trying to have it understand.
Yeah.
What's in it for us?
To me, it's just, we're paying money to help Brownsville, Halsey, or whatever for right now, and we're just helping build the bank.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I just,
yeah, I think it's also important to note that they're not getting anything specific to them out of this either.
no,
Yeah.
I'm kind of stereotyping or I'm projecting, I guess, you know, because I see, as of right now, I don't see what we can do to help us. My opinion, just in general, that's how I read it. But I do understand the idea, and so like, that's why I say I'm on board for it. I just, to me, it's just kind of spending money to help out a group versus what are we gonna get?
Well, if we make TMDL go away.
Yeah.
Time has been spent, how many staff
Well, we passed
hours,
it. It's done, right?
but it's coming up, it comes up.
Well, yeah, we have to keep working on it. We just got more reporting we have to do. In addition to all the stuff we just did, there's a massive new report we have to file that we didn't know about, so. And then there's other stuff we have to do. We're gonna have to be working on this for like the next 10 years. It's gonna continue to take up staff time. We can just have a law passed that says, so that it doesn't get it in cities under X amount of population, cities
That
without.
would be an example.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll come up with a much larger list over time of things that we can actually fix beyond just TMDL. But that's the one that everybody is like, we need to get some kind of about this.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do you do? Thank you. Yeah, you've been here, you know what it's like. It's still here.
Doesn't have that, doesn't have that.
Yeah,
Okay, I just,
it makes sense. Yeah, those are good things that need to be clarified. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, short term, but long term is good. Well, yeah, I mean, I like it, I wouldn't, if I really had kind of feel like going to one, but I was up at all those team, you can see the guys walking around there. And I say I'm probably 5% pursued that, but it's like, you could tell the big leagues from the little states. And then when the people were up giving their testimony, they'd like to call it. None of their concerns were mine.
Yeah.
That was all big city concern. You know, it's no like in the lobby and thing. That's gonna take precedent over any history that I might have. Yeah, you can take the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least.
It's not just big cities. A lot more smaller.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking. If there's no other questions, we can have a motion.
I make the motion, we approve the state public affairs contract in this.
addendum.
I'll second. You go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah. Well, good.
No. So we have to vote on the next one and then we can place it back here. Yeah, so the next one is grants number GY 25114 with the Department of Land Conservation and Development.
This means you're voting to agree to get money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is a contract, so it is really something that should be approved by the council. I mean, it is under $100,000. Yeah, why not? Yeah, no, really, yeah. The point of a contract review board is you have public input on what the city's doing, why are we doing this, all that. And there's a very clear way to lay out this path. It's a small amount of money that that benefits our very tight budget.
So question then, is there, what's the, what responsibility, spitting out, do we have, because or is there?
I have
report,
to
is it
fill
grant, or-
out a 1-page report every 2 years. Yeah, it's
Not a big.
they didn't ask for really any details at all. Just what did you use it on? It's like this. They said great. It was like 2 sentences later. They were happy.
Typical grant thing.
Yeah, it's a little grant thing. So yeah, great.
Are we a paper motion in here?
Yeah.
Okay. I move to approve grant number July 25, 114, this year.
Second, the motion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No, you can choose.
Old business.
It's the only thing that would technically count as old business was the resting location because it was kind of the hangers on from last time, but we already did it, so I don't have any old business. That was really important.
I'll make a motion, Darren.
Oh, if you want to talk about that, we can, for council reports. The restrictions on political advocacy by public employees. So this is a manual that the Secretary of State puts together every few years. And it will be changed. I can get you all printed copies if you wanted. I emailed everybody, but if you want a printed one, yeah, I can absolutely print it. Anything you ever want printed that's online, just let me know. The manual it's mostly for public employees. And there's already some state law, like there is a statute that kind of provides the basis for everything that's in there. And that says you have to have this on the wall. So there's a 1-paragraph page on the wall that says, don't politic in the office, please. Whereas, and it is primarily for public employees. So it's good for counselors to know if there is a question about something me and JD do that seems like it's political. You can go to the manual and go, yeah, that was a problem, or no, they're actually fine. There are some specific things in there though that do relate to elected officials. And part of the reason is that a lot of elected officials do actually get compensated for their work. The other thing is that they do want to make sure that there is a separation between political and public duties. So for example, Councillor Oliveras could endorse Jamie Kate for re-election. She is legally allowed to do that. Say, as a city councillor for Sodaville, I think she deserves another term. You are not allowed to say that during a city council meeting. After the city council meeting, you can do it all you want. By the way, just for the record, she hasn't announced whether she's running yet, so I didn't actually, right? But this is just an example. Yeah. One thing that was in there that I had wondered for a while but didn't know, it's good to get clarified, is that appointed city officials, and that's specifically your boards and commissioners, not your city recorder, your planning commissioner can actually use that title to make a political endorsement. They can go as a Sodaville city planner, I endorse Joe Schmo for president. I'll use somebody made up this time. Um,
I think there's, having read through this at first, when I saw the title, I'm like, oh my gosh, are we at risk for, we're already on the ethics, and we have to do all that, are we at risk of reading it? The majority of what I got from this is we need to watch what we ask. Alex and Susan to do. You can't ask them to do some political advocacy. It's really truly more about our employees than it's about.
Yeah.
So that made me nervous at first.
exactly. Yeah, there are a number of helpful hints where sometimes the boundary line between the public official and the political official, you don't know exactly where it is. So if you have a question about something and I'm not available to help you get the answer, there's a good chance that it's going to be in there. Because, Sodaville, if you look at our council here, only one person here receives any form of compensation, and that's the mayor's discount for his water bill. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so it's not as much of a concern here, but a city employee, the county commissioners are salaried employees. The county clerk, the county treasurer, they're all elected and they're all salaried employees. So you want to make sure they're not doing anything overtly political on public time. But you also need to understand that they do have the ability to be political on their spare time. So this manual does cover a wide swath of people. The Sodaville City Council there was actually a survey about city councilor compensation, and I think Sodaville was like one of the only ones that didn't have like anything, like at least like a discount or here's $5, that kind of thing. So you're probably the body in the state that this least applies to in terms of city councils, but it's still good for you to just know, to read, to see, if somebody feels like we're crossing a line, yes or no. Do you feel like we're crossing a line? Do you feel like you're crossing a line? It's good to have around.
Well, I mean, that's good. Like, I still don't understand, like, what can we talk about when we're not in a court meeting? Yeah, like,
Like you, us, three of us went out and talked about the city, that's an illegal council meeting.
Okay.
Like, the point I was accused of that is Chuck Moore, next door mayor, and I, and a good, someone who's up there, another councilman, we just got out of meeting, this guy wanted to look at a tree out of Davis and all this house. So we discussed, at the meeting, was gonna go out, after the meeting, we look at this tree. We did. Next day, we got contacted for having an illegal public meeting, because there's 3 people at this tree discussing, we should take it down. So that's what we cannot do. We cannot go outside this building, discuss what goes on in the building.
So if I were to do
And
it.
you can talk to her, and then talk to me, and talk to him.
So you can do it
And then
individually.
we cannot get three governing body together and discuss
And
it.
then if I was really nervous, it would be talk to him, and then you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
Anybody else.
That's one thing I know about that. Like I said, I've been attending for that. That's why every time you say that I'm doing something outside, no, I'm not discussing anything public outside this building.
Okay.
Just like after we council those meetings. If we sit here and discuss things after the meeting, we're still sitting in the boardroom. That's against the rules. So once the meeting's closed, we cannot discuss anything about this city business.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if I had a real concern that I think they need to know, I talk to you and then you can talk to all of us.
Yes.
But I couldn't call Brian and say, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, you can talk to the administrator.
But not all of you.
Yes, you could, as long as it's not all in the same group.
And I just.
So, yeah, and the state passed more laws clarifying that this year. Serial communications was something that was more governed by court actions rather than specific statutes. But this year, the legislature actually did formalize a lot of their serial communication court precedents into statutes. And I'm going to get training on that at the City Reporters Association and the League of Oregon Cities this year. So
So you go.
There, yeah.
I can talk to everybody separately.
exactly. And it still does kind of take that, like you'll have to go through me to get to other things. And then, a majority of the body can't meet together to discuss city business. They did make it easy to do something like looking at a tree that's solid, like that would no longer be a problem. As long as, there's like a notice, these counselors are looking at a thing, don't worry about it.
That's what we would talk to That's easy. That was meetings when you have to have people come to meetings, some of the field parents that have a meeting. Walk,
Yeah.
walk the half of the road, you have to look at the tree.
Yeah.
Well, again, those are, we're gonna go and look at the easement between the school and the happy cat.
Exactly.
Because you're like on a field trip away from.
Yeah.
As long as it's considered, as long as it's being thrown in the past, that means go down there as a group and meetings to have to do that. Yeah, it's not a session meeting, not a discussion, we did not do that.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to do. We didn't, I didn't do that. We didn't talk about the meeting, we got, we can do that, that's what I need. That's what we got to do.
So
And that
some
was,
of,
gosh, good enough.
yeah, the goal of this year's legislation is to kind of formalize a lot of court precedents on the matter. But they also made it a little more flexible to go out and do things like that. They also said if there's a violation, now the GEC is in control of that. Whereas before you had to sue somebody. And it's like, well, if I don't have a lawyer to sue somebody for illegally conducting a public meeting, I'm not allowed. But now they can go, hey, GEC, that's what they were doing.
What's the biggest thing?
It's the Government Ethics Commission. Yeah, they got
You know, like Jack, when he was sitting there, everything, so just means what you want to spell now, you're driving. And Judy had a heart attack in my kid with that too. There, but every time that came up, he said, what's that mean? Give it to me in English, not just code it. Sure. Most likely. You know, I won't get.
Yeah, did you want to look up that?
Later, but I don't know. if I forgot about that.
Yeah. I'll get that.
Control me, well, something like that.
Okay, well,
Okay.
so public comment.
Yeah.
Nope.
Adjourn.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I second that motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.